The gentlelady from Pennsylvania is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Attorney General Garland, for your decades of service to the Department of Justice, to our country, and to our Constitution. It's been truly honorable service, and I think the American public as a whole recognizes that. I was struck by and appreciate your opening statement in which you made crystal clear your fidelity to the U.S. Constitution and the rule of law, and your reaffirmation that the Attorney General is not the President's lawyer. This is a welcome change from the rhetoric and actions of some of your predecessors in the last administration when they appeared before us. As we all should know, the Justice Department works for the American people to prosecute crimes, uphold the rule of law and Americans' individual rights, and keep our country safe. And Congress, of course, has a legitimate duty of oversight. But the blatantly political and misleading rhetoric which we've been subjected to today undermines the seriousness of this committee's work and ultimately the legitimacy and core values of our American institutions. It's painfully obvious to anyone who cares about our Constitution that our colleagues have called this hearing not to conduct legitimate oversight, but to once again defend the indefensible actions of the disgraced, twice impeached, and now repeatedly indicted in multiple jurisdictions, former president, and to distract from their inability to perform the most basic function of Congress, to fund the federal government. So they're baselessly accusing the U.S. Department of Justice of bias against the former president and his allies. But it's important to note that those who are noisily and shamelessly trying to subvert our justice system are the same ones who seem to have both the most to fear from those ongoing investigations and the most to gain politically and personally from impeding them. As others have noted, these attempts now include trying to defund the Office of Special Counsel, Jack Smith's office, altogether. I, like so many Americans, find this behavior contemptible and far beneath what we should expect from our country's leaders. Mr. Attorney General, why is it so important for both upholding the rule of law and maintaining public trust that our justice system be able to conduct investigations into wrongdoing free from political interference?
The criminal law can impose incredible sanctions on people. It can take away their liberty. That means due process has to be followed during investigations, and that partisan considerations not play a role. That civil liberties and civil rights are protected, and the only way that can happen is if prosecutors are permitted to go about their work without any external impermissible interventions or considerations.
Thank you. I did want to take the opportunity, since this is an oversight hearing, to conduct some actual oversight. And there was an important topic in your testimony, safeguarding the right to vote. During the previous administration, I asked department officials in this committee room what actions they were taking on this critical issue, and they couldn't answer me. So could you describe the efforts that your Department of Justice is taking to protect the right to vote, a fundamental pillar of our democracy?
Yes. The Congress, in the form of the Voting Rights Act and the Civil Rights Act, authorized the department to bring cases and to enforce the Constitution of the United States with respect to the right to vote. As I'm sure you know, in the Shelby County case, the Supreme Court eliminated one of our tools, Section 5 of the Voting Rights Act, but we retained Section 2, which the Supreme Court again endorsed in its last term. So we have brought cases in a number of jurisdictions where we felt that state laws unconstitutionally impinged on the right to vote. We have supported private parties when they've brought those cases, particularly in redistricting cases that violated the anti-dilution requirement of Section 2. We have a task force with respect to threats against election workers, because threatening election workers and stopping them from going about their work is a significant way in which the right to vote can be impinged. That's just a sampling.
And we certainly saw evidence of that in Pennsylvania during the last presidential election. So we really appreciate all those efforts. You know, I find this hearing very disturbing in that we have elected officials misleading the public, attacking the foundations of our democracy, trying to sow distrust on one of the most critical pillars of that democracy, the U.S. Department of Justice. It's unacceptable and it's un-American. Mr. Chair, I seek unanimous consent to enter into the record a fact sheet on the Department of Justice's work under Attorney General Garland's leadership to safeguard Americans' right to vote and protect our election officials and workers.
Without objection.
Thank you. I yield back.